Okay, this is the last video for week 1 of remote learning in Algebra 2. And in this video, we are going to solve some equations. I know you're really excited. So we're going to do it with exponents. And we're still going to use the idea of when we solve an equation, we undo what's there. And that's how we get stuff by itself. Okay, so here is our first problem. And we are going to solve for x. So the directions on this one is solve. That means at the end, you will have x equals something. X has to be by itself. So our goal here is to get x by itself. And if you recall, when we do this, solve any kind of algebraic equation, we do it in the reverse order of operations. So we need to get rid of this 4 first, because we're trying to get x by itself right now. It's got 4 as a little friend over here. We need to get rid of it. So you can tell that a number in front of the x to the 5th is being multiplied. So to undo that, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And the reason I do that is that this cancels. And over here, I'm left with x to the 5th. And over here, I am left with 32. Okay, so I just simplified it. Now, in the past, what I've seen is students just stop here. They're like, yay, x is by itself. Okay, it's really not by itself. It has this exponent of 5. So we need to get rid of that exponent. So I'm going to show it like this, because sometimes when we have it all in one step for notes, people refer back to it and they don't really understand what just happened. So I'm going to write it on that next line. And to undo taking something to the 5th power, I take the 5th root of it. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So if something is taken to the 5th power, to undo that, I can take that whole term to the 5th root. And what I do to one side of the equation, I do to the other. So this is why I had to show you how to put this in Desmos, because in order to simplify this, x is now by itself, and I need to know the 5th root of 32. So here I am in Desmos. Remember, in order to get that, we need to go to Functions, Miscellaneous. There we go. I'm going to put in 5 as my index and 32 as my radicand. And here's my answer. X is 2. So that's why we did that. So in the first video, so that you knew when you got to this point, you could just come to Desmos and put it inside your calculator. All right, so that's the first problem. That had 2 steps. Okay, so the first step was to divide, and we got rid of that 4. And then that second step was to get rid of that exponent. All right, the second problem is, okay, we're going to start. This will be number 2. Okay, so our equation is x minus 3, that's in parentheses, to the 4th power equals 21. Okay, so this time our answer is actually, our problem is actually starting with an exponent. We still have to get x by itself. So how do we undo taking something to the 4th power? Well, you take the 4th root. Okay, so taking the 4th root of something to the 4th power leaves us with x minus 3 equals 21. Now, this has now become a one-step equation. Sometimes you're left with a two-step equation that you'll have to solve. So I still have to get x by itself. It's currently 3 is being subtracted from it. To undo that, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other side of the equal sign. So these cancel, leaving me with x by itself. And 21 plus 3 is 24. So that is my answer. So this is like a two-step algebraic equation from like algebra 1, but we're adding this extra step of understanding how to undo exponentials, or how to undo radicals, either way, because they kind of undo each other. So now you can move on to the big ideas practice.